Get more value
for the way you live
every day at Kroger.
Walk in and walk out with a large $5 hot and delicious pepperoni pizza from Little Caesars. No need to call ahead.
It's hot and ready. Get it tonight.
Pizza, pizza.
Tonight, it didn't end with BP. CBS News finds toxic spills happen all the time in the oil and gas industries, and even the government doesn't know how big the problem is. I'm Katie Couric. Also tonight, Japan's nuclear disaster. It's now ranked on the same level as Chernobyl, but the Prime Minister tells the nation the crisis is stabilizing. David and Goliath clash at JFK. The world's biggest passenger jetliner clips a commuter plane. And the downside of a college education, years and years of student loan debt.
From CBS News World Headquarters in New York, this is the CBS Evening News with Katie Couric.
Good evening, everyone. It's hard to believe, but next week is the anniversary of the BP oil disaster. Despite that huge wake-up call for the industry and the federal government, spills, leaks, and explosions are still happening virtually every day. A 6-month investigation by CBS News found that spills of crude oil and toxic chemicals last year alone were 3 times the amount of the Exxon Valdez spill. Here's our chief investigative correspondent, Armin Katayan.
A CBS News investigation has found that dangerous spills and leaks by the U.S. oil and gas industry are happening all the time, all across the country.
Every day, there's numerous releases happening throughout just this country. Sometimes every couple of hours, there's a new incident.
Truman Burnett says his dream home in rural Pennsylvania was destroyed by a spill at a nearby gas well, killing everything in this pond.
The fish were dead within 2 weeks. There were bass, frogs, turtles. We had 2 nests of wood ducks. That was my wife's favorite animal. But they're all gone now.
They're all dead?
Yes.
And we've learned no one in the government knows just how many industry incidents there are.
If you don't even know how many releases are occurring, if you don't even know what the overall consequences are, you cannot answer the question of whether or not we are safe enough.
So we collected reported incidents at wells and pipelines from 3 federal agencies and 23 of the 33 oil and gas producing states. And here's what we found for just 2010. Not counting the BP disaster, at least 6,500 spills, leaks, fires, or explosions nationwide. That's 18 a day. Overall, at least 34 million gallons of crude oil and other potentially toxic chemicals spilled. That's triple the size of the 1989 Exxon Valdez spill. And while exactly how much was cleaned up isn't known, the impact certainly is. Poisoned drinking water.
Holy cow.
Dead wildlife, destroyed land, illness, injury, and people being forced from their homes, like here in Marshall, Michigan.
The full creek was solid, packed full of oil.
Last July, a nearly 1 million gallon pipeline spill turned John LaForge's backyard and miles of rivers and streams here into an oily disaster. Today, Canadian oil giant Enbridge is still cleaning up the crude oil and the legal mess that followed.
I don't want to leave here, but I haven't got any choice.
The issue of oil and gas industry spills is so touchy, both the top industry trade group and the Environmental Protection Agency wouldn't speak to us on camera. But we found one former oil industry executive who was willing to talk. Former Shell president John Hoffmeister.
Very few people in the scheme of things are impacted, but nobody should be impacted.
But 34 million gallons is a pretty significant number.
It's big. And this is a big country with 300 million consumers. And so it's not to excuse it. 1 gallon lost is 1 gallon too many.
Doesn't seem like they're doing a very good job, John.
I don't want to sound insensitive, but you have an industry that knows how much could happen. And relative to what could happen, from their perspective, very little does happen.
As for Truman Burnett, his dreams are shattered.
We were hoping to spend quite a bit of time here with our children and our grandchildren, but That won't be the case now.
Innocent victims of an unquestionable threat, only now becoming clear. Armin Katayan, CBS News, Granville Summit, Pennsylvania.
By the way, since that BP spill, the company has paid state and local governments more than $750 million for cleanup costs, but an Associated Press investigation turned up some pretty questionable spending. For example, Ocean Springs, Mississippi used some of the BP money to buy tasers for reserve officers. In one Louisiana parish, officials bought an iPad and a new laptop, and one Florida county spent $500,000 on rock concerts to promote the state's oil-free beaches. BP has recently begun asking for a detailed list on how the money is being spent. Now to the nuclear disaster in Japan. Radiation is still leaking from that crippled plant. And today, the Japanese raised the level of the crisis to the maximum on the International Nuclear Event Scale. It had been at level 5 for the past month, but today, despite no new threats, it was elevated to a 7, the same level as Chernobyl. A 7 is defined as an accident that causes a major release of radioactive material with widespread health and environmental effects. Lucy Kraft reports the change is fueling widespread distrust inside the exclusion zone.
In Fukushima, where the plant is located, there was fear and anger today. At the insistence of residents, the state government began checking radiation levels at thousands of locations. And just yesterday, the national government acknowledged more towns must be evacuated outside the original 18-mile danger zone. All this raises new questions about the handling of the disaster. A spokesman for plant operator TEPCO, Hiro Hasegawa, in an interview with CBS News tonight, argued that the company is not hiding information, saying that under this much scrutiny at home and abroad, concealing data would be impossible. The Japanese government, for its part, said it has taken a month to pinpoint how much radioactivity has leaked into the atmosphere, which is why a mid-level disaster suddenly became a worst-case one. The Level 7 ranking is based mainly on a radiation spike after hydrogen explosions during the first week of the crisis. Since then, officials say that while the Fukushima plant continues to spew radioactive isotopes, emissions are down sharply. The Japanese government has gone to great lengths to downplay any other parallels with Chernobyl. Authorities note that while 27 workers have been treated for radiation exposure, none have received lethal doses. But high radiation exposure killed dozens at Chernobyl. The emission of radioactive substances is about 10% the amount of Chernobyl, said Nuclear Safety Chief Nishiyama. The company that runs the plant, TEPCO, says the chances of radiation ever reaching a Chernobyl level are remote. And tonight, Prime Minister Khan, in an address delayed by a series of powerful aftershocks, also tried to reassure citizens terrified by the specter of a Chernobyl on their own turf. The nuclear reactor is progressing step by step towards stability, he said, and the emission of radioactive substances are on the decline. Those words are cold comfort to Fukushima evacuees wondering when and if they'll be able to return home. Lucy Kraft, CBS News, Tokyo.
Meanwhile, back in this country, they were like an eagle and a sparrow, the world's biggest passenger jet and a CRJ-700 commuter plane. Elaine Quijano now on what happened when their paths crossed last night.
The collision happened just after 8 p.m. at New York's Kennedy International Airport. Air France Flight 7, a super jumbo jet headed to Paris, was taxiing to its runway when its left wing clipped the tail of a much smaller Comair commuter jet, spinning it around almost 90 degrees.
Roll the emergency truck. The plane was been hit by Air France.
Suddenly there was this big bang from one side of the plane, and everyone sort of jumped a bit.
The Air France plane was an Airbus A380, the world's largest commercial jet. Its 262-foot wingspan is nearly the length of a football field and 50 feet wider than the wingspan of a 747. And the Airbus dwarfs the regional jet it hit at more than twice its length.
This is the worst taxiway collision I've ever seen. It's not unusual to have a couple aircraft touch wingtips. But to see such a forceful collision and an aircraft spinning around, that's remarkable.
Aviation experts who've reviewed the recording say the commuter jet was still on the taxiway because it appears the area by the gates was too crowded.
The pilots themselves They need to be looking out very, very carefully when they're operating an aircraft that's as large as the A380. But that's not to say that the regional jet was in the right position either.
Investigators with the National Transportation Safety Board are checking flight recorders from both aircraft, as well as what instructions air traffic control gave to the pilots. Elaine Quijano, CBS News at New York's JFK Airport.
The entire country is on something of a collision course with more than $14 trillion in debt. Tomorrow, Chief White House correspondent Chip Reed reports the president will explain what he plans to do about it.
In recent months, President Obama has repeatedly promised to tackle the nation's long-term debt, including the massive entitlement programs.
Including programs like Medicare and Medicaid, which are the single biggest contributor to our long-term deficits.
But he has refused to offer his own plan. That will finally change Wednesday when he unveils his so-called vision on cutting the debt. Critics say it's about time.
But at least the president is joining in the conversation. Hopefully that conversation is an adult one.
But political analysts say the president had good reason to wait. He wanted the Republicans to go first, and they did last week when influential Congressman Paul Ryan released his controversial plan.
In a sense, the president needed Paul Ryan's House budget plan to use as a foil for his own argument about what government should do, what government priorities are. He will say that the Ryan plan does not match up with American values.
Over time, the Ryan plan would convert Medicare from an insurance program for seniors into a less generous subsidy and would put a cap on Medicaid, which serves the poor, saving about $750 billion over 10 years. To the White House, it's an irresistible opportunity to portray Republicans as callous and extreme.
It places all the burden on the middle class, on seniors, on the disabled, on people in nursing homes.
While giving few details, the White House says the president's plan will trim Medicare and Medicaid with a scalpel, not a machete. And while the Ryan plan cuts tax rates for the top bracket from 35 to 25%, the president is expected to repeat his call for the wealthy to pay more. But Republicans predict the president will follow what they call a familiar pattern, cutting too little and taxing too much. House Speaker John Boehner today threw down the gauntlet, declaring that tax increases are unacceptable and are a non-starter.
Some liberals are also up in arms even before the speech is delivered. One organization is urging its members to refuse to contribute to the president's campaign if he cuts Medicare or Medicaid. Katie?
Chip Reed at the White House tonight. Chip, thank you. Overseas, Egypt's ousted President Hosni Mubarak was rushed to the hospital today, apparently suffering from heart problems. Mubarak, who is 82, reportedly took ill in the resort town of Sharm el-Sheikh while a prosecutor questioned him about the killing of protesters and the embezzlement of public funds. His two sons, Alaa and Gamal, were also questioned today. And still ahead here on the CBS Evening News, bitter rivals team up to send an important message to baseball fans. But up next, does a college degree pay off? Maybe after the graduate pays off a mountain of student loans.
To my grandkids, I'm Nana. I'm friend, secret keeper, and playmate. Do you think I'd let osteoporosis slow me down? So I asked my doctor about Reclast because I heard it's the only once-a-year IV osteoporosis treatment. He told me all about it, and I said, that's the one for Nana. He said Reclast can help re-strengthen my bones to help make them resistant to fracture for 12 months. And Reclast is approved to help protect from fracture in many places: hip, spine, even other bones.
You should not take Reclast if you're on Zometa, have low blood calcium or kidney problems, or if you're pregnant, plan to become pregnant, or are nursing. Take calcium and vitamin D daily. Tell your doctor if you develop severe muscle, bone, or joint pain, if you have dental problems, or if you develop new or unusual pain in your hip, groin, or thigh. The most common side effects include flu-like symptoms, fever, muscle or joint pain, headache, nausea, vomiting, and diarrhea.
Share the world with the ones you love and ask your doctor about Reclast. Once-a-year Reclast, year-long protection for on-the-go women.
Dad? It's time. You'd be a really nice catch for somebody. Please?
Just for Men takes 5 easy minutes, targets only the gray hair, and can start something great.
Yes!
Just for Men.
It's Monday. Some people will stick with their old way of getting vitamins and minerals. Others will try incredible Total Raisin Bran with 100% of the daily value of 11 essential vitamins and minerals, juicy raisins, and crunchy whole grain flakes. Guess it's all about what kind of crunch you like. How are you getting 100%?
Hit the road, Jack, and don't you come back no more, no more, no more, no more. Hit the road, Jack, and don't you come back no more.
Want your weeds to hit the road? Hit them with Roundup Extended Control. One application kills weeds and puts down a barrier to stop new ones for up to 4 months. Roundup Extended Control. Spray once, stop weeds for months. You can turn ordinary chicken into luscious, delicious, and scrumptious with recipes from CampbellsKitchen.com and Campbell's Cream of Chicken Soup. Campbell's, it's amazing what soup can do.
9-Iron, it's almost tea time. Time to face the pollen that used to make me sneeze. But with Zyrtec liquid gels, I get fast 24-hour allergy relief, so I feel better by the time we tee off. Zyrtec liquid gels work fast, so I can love the air.
There's no question about the value of a college degree, but the cost of one is leaving generations of Americans deep in debt. Members of the class of 2008 who took out student loans owed an average of $23,000 when they graduated, a debt national correspondent Dean Reynolds tells us that takes years to pay off.
Diana Berkovitz owes Columbia University a lot. She got a good education, made important professional contacts, and ran up a student loan debt there and at Ithaca College that will keep her in hock for at least 20 years.
What I realize now is when I was 18, I had no concept of what it would mean to go to a school that costs more and what I would end up paying when I graduated.
Her $80,000 in loans from her undergraduate and graduate school days are on the high end of the red ink, but student loan debt in this country is now greater than credit card debt. Casey Rasmussen is a senior at the University of Illinois who's afraid to even calculate what she owes.
Will it force you to make certain life choices that if you didn't carry around debt like that, that you wouldn't have to make?
Probably. Probably going to have to work a job that I don't necessarily want to.
And that's not all.
It can affect a lot of choices, like when to buy a home or whether to buy a home, getting married, having kids, saving for retirement, and saving for their own kids' education.
There's no question that many students are racking up large amounts of debt, but many economists call that good debt. They liken it to a smart investment.
You expect that it will pay off over many years. And borrowing money to go to college is like borrowing money to start a business.
Sandy Baum is an education policy analyst.
You're going to have a much higher lifetime income if you borrow and go to school and repay those loans than if you stop your education after high school.
The numbers don't lie. In 2008, the median earnings of a bachelor's degree recipient were almost $22,000 more per year than a high school graduate. And lifetime, college grads earn 65% more than high school grads. So yes, the debt can be imposing, but remember, Barack and Michelle Obama were once $120,000 in debt from student loans, and they did pretty well. Dean Reynolds, CBS News, Chicago.
In Massachusetts today, one juror called the verdict heart-wrenchingly difficult. Kristen Labrie was convicted in the 2009 death of her 9-year-old son who had autism. Labrie had withheld medication from the boy who was also battling cancer. She testified she thought the side effects would kill him. Labrie could get 37 years in prison. And when we come back, the space shuttles heading into retirement.
Lots of companies are taking high fructose corn syrup out of their foods now. Before that, it was trans fats. And before that, artificial sweeteners. But at Kashi, we've kept our foods real from the start. For 25 years, we've used only real ingredients, like fruit, nuts, and honey. We only put in good stuff, so you can feel good. Want to keep food real? Okay. Join us at Kashi.com.
Kashi, 7 whole grains on a mission.
Do you have something for pain? Oh, Bear aspirin. I'm not having a heart attack. It's my back.
It works great for pain.
Nothing's proven to relieve pain better than extra strength Bear aspirin. It rushes relief to the site of pain.
Feel better?
Yeah, thanks for the tip.
Sometimes life can be, well, a little uncomfortable. But when it's hard or hurts to go to the bathroom, there's Dulcolax Stool Softener. Dulcolax Dulcolax Stool Softener doesn't make you go, it just makes it easier to go. Dulcolax Stool Softener. Make yourself comfortable.
If you are a Medicare Part B subscriber and made percentage copayments for certain prescription drugs, you could get money back from a class action settlement. A percentage copayment varies with the price of the drug. Hundreds of drugs for many conditions such as asthma and cancer are included. Often these drugs are injected in a doctor's office or clinic. For information, call 1-877-465-8136 or visit awptrack2settlement.com.
There's another way to minimize litter box odor. Purina Tidy Cats. Our premium litters now work harder to help neutralize odors in multiple cat homes. Purina Tidy Cats. Keep your home smelling like home.
Osteobioflex is a great product. I can go back and do gardening with comfort.
Osteobioflex with 5 locks in advance shows improvement in joint comfort within 7 days. Osteobioflex, now available in a new and different 1-per-day formula.
It's 2011. Wonder where the Durango's been for the last 2 years? Well, it toured around Europe, getting handling and steering lessons on those sporty European roads. It went back to school, got an advanced degree in technology. It's been working out, more muscle and less fat. It's only been 2 years, but it's done more in 2 years than most cars do in a lifetime.
This is the 30th anniversary of the first space shuttle flight. Only 2 more missions remain. Today, NASA ended months of suspense by announcing where the 4 remaining shuttles will spend their retirement. Discovery is headed to a branch of the Smithsonian in Virginia. Enterprise, a test model, goes to the Intrepid Museum here in New York. Endeavour, which flies later this month, will go to the California Science Center in Los Angeles, and Atlantis heads back to the Kennedy Space Center in Florida after it makes the final shuttle flight this summer. And this is also the 50th anniversary of the first manned space flight. Soviet cosmonaut Yuri Gagarin orbited the Earth just once. His flight lasted less than 2 hours. Just recently, it was revealed that engineers worried that Gagarin wouldn't survive the hard landing, so he was ejected at 20,000 feet and parachuted to safety. In Moscow today, soldiers placed flowers at a monument to Gagarin, who was killed in a plane crash in 1968. In South Carolina, a mortar blast along Charleston Harbor echoed the first shots of the Civil War 150 years ago today. The Confederate assault on Fort Sumter lasted about 34 hours before the Union garrison surrendered. Not a single life was lost during the bombardment, but by war's end, 4 years later, more than 600,000 would be dead. When President Franklin Roosevelt decided to run for a 4th term at the height of World War II, his doctor said his health was good, but they knew better.
What is the job before us in 1944? First, to win the war.
In a fascinating memo just made public, a Boston doctor who examined Roosevelt in 1944 said he didn't believe Roosevelt had the physical capacity to complete another term. Dr. Frank Leahy said he informed Roosevelt's primary doctor of his concerns, but voters were kept in the dark.
And will to the best of my ability.
Just 12 weeks after FDR began his 4th term, he died of a cerebral hemorrhage 66 years ago today.
America's revolving door prisons. New ideas to stop the cycle, save money, and make our streets safer. Tomorrow on the CBS Evening News with Katie Couric.
Osteoporosis treatment, no big deal. So I have to wait up to an hour just to eat or drink. I've got time to kill.
Yeah, right. I'm a working woman.
And I'm busy.
Why should osteoporosis therapy disrupt my morning routine? With new Atelvia, there's no wait.
Unlike other osteoporosis medicines, Atelvia has a delayed-release formulation, so you can take it right after breakfast and help protect your bones. Do not take Atelvia if you have esophagus problems, low blood calcium, severe kidney disease, or cannot sit or stand for 30 minutes. Follow all dosing instructions. Stop taking Atelvia and tell your doctor if you experience difficult or painful swallowing, chest pain, or severe or continuing heartburn, which may be signs of serious upper digestive problems. Tell your doctor if you develop dental or jaw problems, as serious jawbone problems have been reported rarely. Also, tell your doctor if you develop severe bone, joint, or muscle pain, or any hip, groin, or thigh pain, as unusual thigh bone fractures have been reported rarely.
With Atelvia, the mornings are all mine.
Talk to your doctor about new Atelvia.
9-iron, it's almost tea time. Time to face the pollen that used to make me sneeze. But with Zyrtec liquid gels, I get fast 24-hour allergy relief, so I feel better by the time we tee off. Zyrtec liquid gels work fast, so I can love the air.
Eggland's best eggs, the best in nutrition, just got better.
Even better nutrition.
High in vitamins D, E, and B12.
A good source of vitamin B2.
Plus omega-3s. And 25% less saturated fat than ordinary eggs.
But there's one important ingredient that hasn't changed. Better taste.
Better taste. Better taste. Eggland's best. Better taste, and now even better nutrition make the better egg.
Bobby Sinclair.
Whoa, I thought Bill was the tree green guy here.
I'm the tree and shrub specialist. Healthy trees are key to a healthy environment, so we fertilize and protect them from pests.
Trees need love too, right?
Yeah.
You smell that?
Oh, smell what?
Opportunity.
Call 888-TRUE-GREEN and get your first tree and shrub application for just $49.95.
Who says money doesn't grow on trees? Cha-ching!
True Green. Go greener.
To keep in balance after 50, I switched to a complete multivitamin with more. Only One A Day Women's 50 Plus Advantage has ginkgo for memory and concentration, plus support for bone and breast health. A great addition to my routine. One A Day Women's.
Fed up.
Coming up in just moments on News Channel 5 at 6, an innocent student is shot at a local metro high school while sitting on a school bus. We'll have details tonight at 6.
And finally tonight, in the age of 24/7 sports talk on blogs, TV, and radio, rivalries have really gotten out of control. A vicious attack last week was just the latest example. But as Bill Whitaker reports, two baseball teams came together to remind the fans it's just a game.
The long, intense rivalry between the Los Angeles Dodgers and the San Francisco Giants drew a sellout crowd to the Giants Stadium last night to see LA win 6-1. But unlike the last time these teams met, the clash was confined to the field.
It's been pretty calm. Usually I get booed by now or other, words you can't say on TV.
Following the season opener in Los Angeles, Giants fan and father of two, Brian Stowe, was so savagely beaten in the parking lot by two unidentified Dodger fans that he remains in a coma 2 weeks later. Last night in San Francisco, players and fans put differences aside and joined to honor Stowe.
And in your excitement or in your frustration, don't take it out on another fan if you don't agree with who they cheer for.
So this is America's national pastime, and let's keep it that way. Thank you.
Stowe's family joined players on the field.
It's overwhelming. We'd just like to say thank you to everybody that's done so much.
Earlier, at a fundraiser at Dodger Stadium, LA fans dropped off $60,000 for Stowe's children and medical expenses. The face of the Dodgers, former manager Tommy Lasorda, wrote a check for $5,000.
I've run out of tears for this young man. What those thugs did to him was a disgrace to them and their families. This young man someday, I hope and pray, could walk into a ballpark again and enjoy the game. Thank you.
To make sure everyone can enjoy the game safely, the LAPD plans to flood the stadium with police officers when the Dodgers return home Thursday.
You'll see police officers when you drive in the stadium, in the parking lots, inside the stadium, and then when you leave.
The LAPD has 16 officers working full-time trying to find Stowe's assailants. The reward for information leading to their arrest, almost $150,000. Bill Whitaker, CBS News, Dodger Stadium, Los Angeles.
And that is the CBS Evening News for tonight. I'm Katie Couric. Thank you for watching. I'll see you tomorrow. Good night.
Gunmen opened fire moments after classes let out at a Nashville high school. Our breaking news coverage continues as an innocent student is rushed to the hospital as the suspects make a run for it.
A mid-state man faces child rape charges after police say he used a live-action role-playing game to earn the trust of kids.
A longtime Metro teacher honored by lawmakers but ousted from her job winds up center stage at tonight's school board meeting.
It's a shell of its former self, but Aubrey Mills is finally beginning the road to recovery. A look at when Nashville's largest mall is set to reopen.
From your news and information leader, this is News Channel 5 at 6.
Hi, everyone. We do have an update tonight on that breaking news we've been following all afternoon.
Police have just arrested a fifth suspect in that shooting outside Pearl Cone High School.
The victim, a 16-year-old girl, was just an innocent bystander when she was hit by gunfire while just sitting on a school bus.